No, I didn't cheat. I didn't cheat this shit. I didn't taste it. But chicken on top. Yeah. Yeah. Always listen. Generally, a lot of weekdays too. Oh, really? Yeah. You talk to? Yeah. I go there all the time. I'll go with you this week. Yeah. Shane's right there. Yeah. Yeah, let me know. Got my info. All right.
Later, John.
See you guys.
All right, guys. So we're going to kick off nutrition talk for the evening. Just for everybody kind of joining in and people that aren't part of the gym. So we started a nutrition challenge. I believe this is the start of the 5th week, and we're getting people dialed in and making them understand how much nutrition plays a role in their overall performance and quality of life, and starting to teach them some good habits so that they can move forward when we're not in the challenge and continue the habits and patterns that they've developed. So the first week we discussed a bunch about keeping a food log and why it's important to start logging everything and to kind of track what you're doing so you can make adjustments from there. The last one that we did, we kind of just talked briefly about all of the kind of fad diets that are going around, all the buzzwords, keto, intermittent fasting, paleo, Whole30, all that kind of stuff. And I had a couple requests, and just from talking to clients around the gyms about what do I do when I'm traveling? What do I do when I have to go out to dinner? What do I do when I have a party to go to? And how do I stay on track through all that? So we're going to spend the next 10, 15 minutes discussing some of that stuff, and then we'll open up to Q&A after that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is nutrition is a part of your lifestyle. It's not something that is a diet and I'm doing this for this amount of time. So we have to be able to make our lives work with our nutrition plan. So if you work and travel and you have dinners that you're going to and you have an active social life where you're invited to this party and that outing and this party for whoever, weddings and all that kind of stuff. So how do we make it work, and what are some tricks that we can do? First things first is knowing what it is that you're really doing, like knowing what's important to you. So whatever it is that you've discussed with your coach or your mentor or whoever's helping you through your nutrition, find those basic concepts that are really key to success for you. So if that means for you, it's making sure that we stay away from the starchy carbs, staying away from rice and potatoes and bread and that kind of stuff. Cool. That's really easy to do anywhere you go. Another thing is if you figured out that just being prepared ahead of time, like I'm gonna be traveling and I don't know what to do, we can plan ahead for that, and we can prep food in advance. So through our travel day, when we're in airports, airplanes, on the road, we have food available that's already set up. Typically what happens in all of these situations is people don't have a plan going into whatever it is that they're doing. So if I'm going to a party, they have no plan, like, oh, there's going to be this there and that there. What am I going to eat? I'm going to be hungry. It's going to be too long to go without food. I can't show up with my own food. Or they're traveling and they're like about to jump on a plane. They have a 4-hour flight and they know they need to eat, so they grab something quick at the airport. That's probably not what they should be eating. So number one, let's talk about having a plan. If you know that you're going to a restaurant or you're going to a party, plan out ahead of time. Maybe eat before you go to that party, so then all you have to do is have a few snacks along the way, and you're not trying to mix and match a huge meal throughout that party or event or whatever you're doing. Some ways to do it is, okay, I know that I'm going to be there for 4 hours. So on your way there, maybe you have a meal prepared in the Tupperware and you're eating as you're pulling up to the party. Nobody knows, nobody sees it. You don't have that weird social awkwardness of showing up to a party with Tupperware. But you also are able to stay on point and you're not there feeling that need to snack and eat what everybody else is eating. Let's say that's not an option and you're going to have to eat there in some fashion. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some sort of option that you can go with. There's typically best way to go. There's going to be some sort of protein and fat, and stay away from all the carbohydrate stuff. Stay away from the bread, the chips, all that type of thing. Find those moments where you can grab some sort of protein, whether it's like a deli tray and you're going to grab some meat and cheese, some trail mix where there's some nuts that you can snack on, that kind of stuff. And those are some little pieces along the way that will help you through like that party and social event situation. Let's say there's a dinner that you have to be at, whether you're traveling for work and it's a work dinner or it's just a dinner that you're going to with friends. Any restaurant, if you ask, will give you whatever it is that you want. It depends on how far you want to take it. If you go into a restaurant and ask for a grilled chicken breast and a salad with oil and vinegar on the side, they will bring that out to you. If you don't want to take it to that extreme, find something on the menu that's meat and vegetables. And if they put some potatoes or rice or something like that on the plate, just simply don't eat them. If it's tough for you to not eat them, ask for extra vegetables instead of the potatoes or rice. The little tricks like that go a long way. Kind of in that piece, if we start looking at what else we can eat at restaurants, every restaurant is going to have some sort of a meat and vegetable option. And those are always going to be your safest bet. If you're somewhere and a salad is the only thing that really works, be careful with what is on that salad. They'll throw a ton of dressing on it. They'll throw croutons and anything like that in there. So just kind of be aware and just simply ask for the salad dressing on the side, ask for no croutons, little stuff like that. And that way you're at least eating real food. You have kind of that meat and vegetables theme still followed through. Now, one of the big things that people do as they start going out to dinner and they have work functions or they're at those social events is alcohol. How do I do it without drinking? First off, simply say no. If you have something that's more important to you than that drink, then it's much easier to say no. If you understand why you're not drinking, you understand why it's important to eat healthy and stay away from alcohol and bread and all that kind of stuff, then saying no isn't such a big deal. If you're one of those people where you just kind of have that social, that give it that social pressure, play around with asking for sparkling water in a glass and stick a lime in it, and people will think that you're drinking right along with them, and really you're just drinking water. That's an option. If you find it absolutely necessary to have a drink, try to stay away from having mixed drinks where they're adding sodas and any juice or anything with extra sugar and extra calories in it. Drinking just regular alcohol in a glass, much better option. I do not recommend it. I don't encourage it. But if you're going to go that route, it's better to drink the alcohol straight rather than mixing it with a soda of some sort. So you guys can play around with that type of thing. And then one of the other big pieces is like that meal prep thing. Like how do I get through my week? How do I get through my travel day? How do I get through my work day where I'm in the car? And it really starts at home on the weekend before or beforehand. So making sure that you have food in the house. So you went to the grocery store and you've bought the food that you need. You have meat and vegetables available, and then prepping it. Cook ahead of time. Cook over the weekend. Cook a bunch of meat. Throw some meat in the crock pot. Grill up some vegetables so it's all there. And put it in Tupperwares. Weigh and measure it out if that's the route that you're going. Have enough Tupperwares to get you through 3 or 4 days, and then you can set yourself up for success through that week. When you're traveling, you can do the exact same thing. If you're in the car at work all day long, Get yourself a lunchbox of some sort. Put your food in Tupperwares the night before. That way when you're out on the road all day, your meals are planned, they're all ready to go. You're not trying to stop at this restaurant or that grocery store and trying to mix and match meals. It's all just set up and ready to go. If you have the option available, there's a ton of companies that are doing pre-made meals that will drop them off to the gym, drop them off to your house. So you can go that route, and then you don't even need to cook, and all the meals are all set up for you, and you can mix and match those meals however you need. Food options are pretty solid with them. Just kind of know again what your goals are and what your plan is and what you need, what you discuss with your coach. And then like for the big travel days, you're getting ready to get on an airplane. And this is kind of one of those things where it's like, how bad do I want it? How far am I willing to go? Before you get on the plane in the morning, same thing. Pack a lunch, try to not have any ice packs with it. Things that maybe don't need to stay as cold are good options so you can get through security. And then you get on the plane and you have your food set up and Tupperwares ready to go for the day. People might look at you, people might ask questions. It's a good opportunity to maybe change somebody else's life and explain to them why it's important to eat healthy and why you're doing that. And at the end of the day, those people's opinion don't really matter. They're going to be sitting there eating their chips and peanuts and drinking sodas, and you'll know that you have meat and vegetables available and you can get through your day. I promise you that if you start to, especially on those big travel days on the plane, bring your own food with you. When you get off the plane, you get to your meetings, you're going to feel 100 times better because you've been eating good food, you've been keeping yourself fueled the way that you need to. So just some different stuff to think about there. Big takeaway on all of this is to have a plan no matter where you're going, whether you're going out to dinner with friends, you're going to a party, a wedding, travel days, work days. As soon as you set yourself up for success, it's going to be much easier to stick to the program than trying to mix and match yourself or mix and match along the way. Worst case scenario, you end up in a situation where you're out on the road longer than you wanted. You don't have food with you. Grocery stores. Super simple to build a clean meal going to a grocery store. Go to the deli, ask for a couple ounces of lunch meat of some sort. Not necessarily always the best option, but definitely way better than fast food choices or some of the other restaurants that you might end up at. Go in, get a couple ounces of meat. Go find some raw nuts of some sort, grab those. Go to the fruit aisle, go grab a piece of fruit, an apple, some berries, a banana, something like that. And at least at that point, you're eating real food throughout the day instead of trying to find those fast, quick options at the convenience store or at the fast food restaurants. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and open this up to questions. Let's see what you guys have this week. No questions yet. All right, so I'll give you guys an example of just some of the stuff that I do. Traveling for seminars, typically fly out on Friday midday and then not home until Sunday and in a hotel on Friday and Saturday night. So what I'll do on Friday morning before I go, I'll stick whatever leftover meat I have in a Tupperware. I'll find some vegetables of some sort that I have and throw that in along with it. I'll put some raw nuts of some sort in a bag and bring that with me. If it's a little bit longer travel day, I might make 2 of those Tupperwares. And then once I get to wherever I'm going, I'll go to Whole Foods. And at Whole Foods, I'll typically buy a whole chicken, and that will be my protein source for the weekend. And I can utilize the Tupperwares that I had brought on the plane to put my meals back into for my work days. And then I'll buy a couple apples. I'll go find some sort of nuts, almonds, pecans, something of the sort. And then as far as vegetables go, I'll try to find some sort of greens that are easily transferable. even just some kale or spinach in a bag, and then I'll typically buy an avocado or two. And what I can do once I get back to the hotel is I can start mix and matching meals for the weekend, and just pull some chicken off, throw some greens in, throw some avocado on. Not the most amazing tasting food in the world necessarily, but I know that I'm going to feel good at the end of the day. I'm going to feel good at the end of the weekend, and I'm not worried about trying to find different meals throughout my day. And then the other thing that I do when I travel is I always bring protein powder with me, and that typically acts as my breakfast. And if I get stuck in a situation where I can't get to any real food, at least I have something to tide me over until I can find that place to get a real meal in me. All right, guys, what do we have for questions? Stephen, one chicken for the day or the whole weekend? Stephen, for you, it would probably be one chicken for breakfast and then one for lunch and one for dinner. For me, it's going to be one chicken for the whole weekend. Typically dinner Friday night, couple meals on Saturday, a couple meals on Sunday, and we typically, as a group of trainers, go out to dinner on Saturday night. So that meal's covered. What else do we have? Aaron needs Insta. Question: what is your advice for food prep and planning meals when you're making food for two people with different goals, gaining muscle versus maintaining? So Aaron's asking how do her and her husband Tanner figure out the food prep situation. So ideally, the foods that you guys should be eating are roughly the same. Aaron, for you, you're probably looking at meat and vegetables. If Tanner's trying to put some mass on, all you have to do is cook a couple sweet potatoes for him, and now all of a sudden, as you prep, the food is done, but the way that you put it together is going to look a little bit different. Your meals will maybe be meat and vegetables and some fat. Tanner's will be meat, vegetables, some sweet potato, or maybe rice, something like that, along with the fat that you added to yours. So not really a big change there, just obviously different portion sizes and having a couple extra things for that little bit of difference that we're looking for there. Harge, what's the best alternative for kids who refuse to eat greens? Great question. My wife actually told me this a long time ago, that it only takes, I think, 18 to 20 times of a kid eating something, or really anybody eating something, to develop a taste for it. So force them to eat it for a few weeks, and eventually they're going to like it. One of the things that she used to tell me she would do, if she would put dinner on the table and they refused to eat it, they'd go to bed without eating dinner. They'd wake up the next morning for breakfast, and she'd put their plate back in front of them after it was in the refrigerator all night and say, here's breakfast. And she would play that game until eventually they were hungry enough to where they would just eat whatever was in front of them. So all you parents out there, don't be afraid to be hard on your kids. Educate them on why it's important to eat well. And again, if we as adults are eating a certain way, there's no reason that our kids shouldn't eat that way as well. Brandy, meals don't have to make sense, just that you eat real food, correct? Yeah, so it's kind of one of those situations, like especially on a travel day, like in a perfect world, like I want all of my meals weighed and measured perfectly, but not always super easy to bring food scale and measuring cups with me on the road, so I make it happen as best as possible, and I have a pretty good idea for it at this point. But people that are starting out, way better to get some meat and vegetables and some sort of fat in you than trying to worry about, well, it's not perfect, so I'm just going to go off the deep end and go to McDonald's. So real food is always going to be your best choice in a pinch. What else do we got? No other questions. So I'm here with a couple people at CrossFit 760 in La Costa. You guys have any questions for me?
I was wondering, do you eat the same kind of meal throughout the day, or do you do something different after a workout?
Okay, so Tyler's asking about different meals throughout the day versus kind of post-workout. So for me personally, my post-workout is typically just a shake, one of the Parlay Provision shakes with water. I eat that or drink that within like 15 to 20 minutes after I work out typically. And then by the time I go home, shower, get myself cleaned up or whatever, typically about an hour to an hour and a half later, then I'll eat another real meal. I highly encourage people post-workout protein and carbs. If you're trying to lose weight, lean out, that type of thing, you can limit the carbs after a workout. The Parlay Provision shake has enough carbs where it'll help kind of spike the insulin and get into your system. Whereas if somebody's trying to put on mass, they're going to maybe want to eat a piece of fruit with it. So you just got to kind of play that game and know where your goals are on that. That help out?
Yeah.
All right, what else do we have? Stacy Ferriorni, how many ounces of protein should I eat at each meal? Stacy, for you, I would say no more than 3 ounces of protein per meal. If you're doing ground meat or fish, you can jump that up to 4.5. But it's basically like chicken, beef, that type of thing. 3 ounces. As soon as it becomes like a ground beef, ground turkey, ground lamb, whatever, you're going to jump that up to 4.5. And that'll keep you pretty solid. If you're doing some snacks, I wouldn't do more than 1 ounce of protein at a time. And then just so everybody knows, 1 egg is roughly equivalent to 1 ounce of protein. Steven, so you're saying lunch meat is better than fast food. Steven, yes, lunch meat is definitely better than fast food. And just kind of be aware of the lunch meat that you're grabbing. Most grocery stores will have some good options, and you can kind of look through and find one maybe that says gluten-free. Look through the ingredients list, try to find one with as few ingredients as possible on it. Stay away from the ones where one of the first 3 ingredients is high fructose corn syrup. It's out there, it's on it. Just kind of be aware of what you're putting in your body. Take the extra 30 seconds to read what you're going to put in you. If you can't find one, try to find some hard-boiled eggs is a good option, stuff like that. Joe Murphy, what is the most calorie-efficient vegetable? In other words, how do I get the most carbs and the least amount of greens? So, Joe, I think you're probably trying to pack calories in and try to keep weight on. For you, all of the starchy vegetables, it's going to be tough for you to get enough greens in to get the carbs. So for you, like spaghetti squash, sweet potatoes, any type of squash, really, stuff like that is going to be great for you. Peppers are a good option. They're going to be a little bit more. And then if you want to get those extra greens in, just throw spinach in whatever it is that you're eating and saute it up with it, and it'll kind of disappear in the rest of your food. Steven says broccoli and cauliflower for you, Joe. But Joe, if you're trying to put size on, you gotta just pack the carbs in. So don't waste it. What else do we have? Anything else, guys?
Salt intake. Are we supposed to stay away from?
So salt intake. So a lot of people are afraid of salt, especially in Southern California. It's hot. It's humid typically. We're sweating a lot. Most people are not going to overdo it on salt unless all of their meals are at those big chain restaurants, fast food, where everything's packed in sodium. I typically salt 99% of my meals, and that kind of helps keep everything regulated, helps keep hydrated and kind of keep that water intake in. If you're finding that everything that you eat is packed in sodium, if you're looking at food labels and stuff and you typically aren't eating like the real food sources, you're probably going to want to avoid salt as much as at all costs. And again, that will change as soon as you start making that real food your main options. Next question. Lindsay Robinson, are green beans considered a legume? Green beans are not considered a legume. They're going to be a vegetable, kind of one of those areas where it's kind of in between. And most people aren't going to have much of a reaction to green beans, but if you don't eat green beans and you start eating them and you start feeling like you're having stomach issues, that kind of stuff, just check it, pull them back out, see if it goes away, put them back in. If it comes back, probably not a good vegetable for you. But typically people are going to be okay with green beans. What else do we have, guys? All right, I'll give you guys about another 60 seconds to fire off some questions. If we don't have anything, then we'll wrap this up. Big takeaway for the day, having a plan, knowing that it is possible to eat well and stick to the program while you guys are traveling, while you guys are going through life's events. Social events are not an excuse to cheat on your diet. There's always a way. You just have to really want it. The more you want it, the easier it is. Find that why, understand what it is exactly that you're after, why you're after it, and saying no and making those adjustments and taking that little bit of extra work to get the proper food in you will not be an issue. All right, guys. We'll see everybody again in 2 weeks, and then stay tuned. We have a couple other Facebook Lives coming up that are going to be outside of nutrition. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.